Welcome students to this session on nutrition for the adolescent children. The transition from childhood to adulthood is called as adolescence. Prior to this period, they were called as school-going children, and they grow from that age group into the adolescent. And this period of adolescence is the age between 13 to 18 years, and it is characterized by rapid growth and development at all levels. So this is a period of transition. They grow out from the childhood to that is the entry point to the adulthood. Therefore it is called as the transition period, and there are changes in their physiological development, psychological development, and also social development. There are many body changes which result due to the influence of the hormones. The body changes with respect to the growth of the individual will be distinct from the childhood and in the adolescent. The growth spurt of the boys is slower than that of the girls. So growth spurt occurs during the adolescent period. And what is growth spurt? Growth spurt means there is an extraordinary increase in the height and the weight of the children. So that is called as the growth spurt. And all of us would have observed this, including ourselves, right? So after the school going age, there would have been a very distinct difference in the growth pattern, and this is called as the growth spurt of the children. This growth spurt, the increase in height, the increase in weight, and all the body changes are brought about due to the production or due to the influence of certain hormones. The growth spurt in the boys is slower when compared with that of the girls. And later we will see how the changes occur and how the boys will overtake the girls in their growth spurt later. Because of the extent of the physical and physiological changes taking place, a number of issues arises that influences the nutritional well-being of the teenagers. As we have seen, there is growth spurt, an extraordinary growth during this period, and to support this growth, plenty of nutrients are required. The nutritional requirements for the adolescent children is particularly very important. If adequate nutrition is not provided during this period, then they may not achieve their growth potential. Therefore, the nutritional needs for the adolescent children is really very important. The second and the final growth spurt occurs during the adolescent period. So what was the first growth spurt? The first growth spurt occurred during the infancy, 0 to 12 months. Only during this period, at 6 months, there will be doubling of the weight, and at 1 year, there will be tripling of the weight, and also the height of the child will increase. And that was called as the first growth spurt that occurred during the infancy. And during the adolescent period, the second growth spurt starts in the children. The process of physical development from a child to an adult is called as puberty. So there is a gradual transition of the childlike appearance to the adult-like appearance, and this is called as puberty. The growth spurt occurs in the girls at approximately 11 to 14 years, and in the boys it is 13 to 16 years. So you can see here the growth spurt in the girl is earlier when compared with the boys. In the girls it is much lesser, 11 to 14 years, whereas in the boys it occurs only between 13 to 16 years. The term adolescence is applied to the period of maturation, not only of the body but also of the mind. So there is maturation of the body and the mind which takes place during the adolescence. So your outlook, how you look on things, how you analyze things, your perspectives on different issues that are happening, will change during the adolescent period. It is a critical period of rapid development, but in most youngsters, there is a lack of synchronization between the physical, emotional, and social aspects of that development. So it is a very critical, a very crucial period, and there is rapid development during this period. And we have told that there are changes in physical, psychological, and the social development. But in many individuals, many adolescent children, we find that there is no synchronization. Synchronization means taking place at the same time. That we called as synchronization. There is no synchronization between the physical and emotional development. So they may look like a grown-up individual, but they may behave like a child. So there is no emotional development. And also there will be lack of social development in the child. So how they have to interact with the child, with the society, how they have to socialize with people. So these aspects they may not be aware of, and they may still behave like a child. We call it as childish behavior. So the child physically will appear like an adolescent, like a grown up, but the emotional component and the social component in the child may still be like a small child. So we call it as asynchronization. There is no synchronization between all these aspects, but actually all these has to take place simultaneously at the during the period of adolescence. Of all the changes that occur during adolescence, the most obvious are the increased in stature. What is increased in stature? They will increase in height and they will also increase in weight. So that we call as increase in stature. Skeletal development will be high in the adolescent children. So that is brought about by increased in stature. And also there are altered body composition. The body composition of the children change during the adolescent period. And also there is sexual maturation. Because of puberty, there is sexual maturation both in the girls as well as in the boys. Let us see about the height of the adolescent children. The adolescent growth spurt for most girls occur even before the teen years. That is, even before the adolescent period, there is increase in height in the girls and prior to menarche. Menarche is the first menstruation. Even before the onset of menarche, there will be increase in height of the girl children. And even during the grade school years, girls are often taller than boys, a situation that continues until sometimes between 12 to 15 years. We have seen this in the school going children. We saw that the girls are taller than that of the boys of the same age group. And this pattern will continue up to 15 years. That is, when we compare a boy and a girl who are 14 years of age, we will see that the girls are taller when compared with the boy who is 14 years of age. Then the boys catch up and rapidly exceed the height of their female schoolmates. And after 15 years of age, the boys will outgrow the girls. That is, the height of the boys will be more when compared with the girls after they are 15 years of age. Girls who have particularly large and early growth spurt also reach puberty at an early age. So when we see the growth spurt in the children, the girls have a larger growth spurt. The period is larger in girls when compared with that of the boys, and they also reach puberty at an early age when compared with the boys. The age of puberty also is lesser in the girls. They do not, however, necessarily grow taller than later maturing contemporaries. And it is not assured that they'll be always taller than the boys, because the boys will pick up after 15 years of age and they will grow taller. Once the reproductive capacity is achieved by the adolescent girls, the rate of growth slows dramatically. So the growth in the girls is more, or it occurs very distinctly only up to menarche, that is onset of menstruation. After that, there is a slight decline in the growth spurt of the girls. The male growth continues for longer than it is generally believed. From 17 to 28 years, boys grow about 2.3 centimeters. Even after they are above 17 years, that is, they are approaching the adulthood, even then growth occurs in the boys, and the amount of growth that would occur between 17 to 28 years is about 2.3 centimeters, whereas in girls it is lesser, it would be only 1.2 centimeter. This prolonged growth period has implications for nutritional requirements of the young adults, because the growth period is about nearly 8 to 9 years in both girls as well as the boys. The nutritional requirement during this period is really very important and crucial. Weight of the children, the adolescent growth spurt is related to both increase in cell number and increase in cell size. So increase in cell number is hyperplasia and increase in cell size is hypertrophy. So these both occur in the children, and it contributes to increase in weight, which are paralleled by significant weight gains. Girls progress earlier than boys in this area as well, which means the weight gain in the girls occur much early when compared with the boys of the same age. During the pre-adolescent year, girls store fat and gain significant weight as much as 10 pounds in a single pre-puberty year. So during the pre-pubertal age or pre-adolescent age, the girl's weight gain is enormous, and it will take to the extent of gaining 10 pounds per year, 10 pounds of weight per year. So this will make the child look chubby during the pre-adolescent period. Since the weight gain precedes the increase in height, the preteen are frequently chubby. So first weight gain occurs and only then the height gain occurs. So if weight gain and height gain, they take place at the same time, we will not notice that the child is chubby. But since the weight gain precedes the height gain, the pre-adolescent are found to be chubby. But girls who have not been previously been obese normally regain their childhood proportion at the time the growth spurt begins. So as the child grows, then when they start growing in height, we will not obviously observe the increased weight because the body proportion will change. Boys may not lose the pre-puberty fat until the time of their greatest linear growth. Linear growth is the increase in height of the boys. So they will start losing the pre-puberty fat which they have already stored in their body only when the height is increased in the boys. Often, loss of body fat at that time is probably related to the increased levels of testosterone. So the body fat in the boys reduces only when there is linear growth, that is increase in height, and this is influenced, the loss of body fat is influenced due to the secretion of the hormone testosterone and the coordinate development of the upper body musculature. So the upper body muscles develop during this period, and it is during this period that there will be loss of the pre-puberty fat. Let us now see the composition of the adolescence. Body composition changes during the period of maturation. The changes occur due to hormonal influence which regulates the development of sex characteristics. So the body composition in the adolescent changes under the influence of the hormones. The skeletal growth continues for a longer period of time for boys than the girls. So the growth of the skeleton is more in the boys when compared with the girls. Usually, the skeleton reaches its full maturity by 17 years, which means the person's growth potential can take place up to 17 years for girls, and in the boys it is up to 20 years. As mineralization increases, the water content decreases. So when there is skeletal growth, it means there is increase in the mineralization of the bones, and the water content of the body reduces during the adolescent period. Therefore, it contributes to change in the body composition. Girls tend to deposit more fat, whereas boys add more muscle mass. So these are the specific changes in the body composition. The girls will accumulate more fat, whereas the boys will develop more muscles. The result of pubertal changes is that boys have more lean body mass. What is the lean body mass? Lean body mass is nothing but the muscle mass, which is devoid of the adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is the fat mass. So the lean body mass means only the muscle. That is called as the lean body mass. The skeletal weight and less adipose tissue as a ratio of total body weight. So the pubertal changes in the boys leads to the development of more lean body mass, and there is less amount of adipose tissue in the boys. This difference in body composition for boys and girls is reflected in the nutrient requirement. So we now find that the body composition of the boys are different and the body composition of the girls are different, and therefore naturally the nutritional requirement for the adolescent boys and the adolescent girls will also vary based upon their body composition. Sexual maturity. This is one of the very important change that occurs in the adolescent period. The growth spurt is accompanied by sexual maturity. In girls, there is development of breasts, axillary hair, that is in the armpit, and the pubic hair, and the appearance of menarche, which is the first menstruation. Menarche in girls is an obvious sign or signal of sexual maturation. So menarche signals that the girls are mature, sexually mature. Ovulation may generally not occur with regularity until about 2 years later. So the menarche, it signals that the child is mature and they are sexually mature. But ovulation, the process of the release of ovum, will not take place regularly. So it may take a period of maybe 1 to 2 years for regular ovulation. That is the monthly ovulation to take place, which ovulation is a process of the release of ovum, and this may not take place regularly even after the onset of menarche, and it may take about 1 to 2 years of time span for the regular onset of ovulation, as a result of which there will be regular menstruation in the girls. In boys, the pubertal changes include deepening of the voice. So now you can see that the voice of the boys become coarse. It's not like their voice was during their childhood period. So it will become rough and coarse. Broadening of the shoulders. The shoulders become wide, and development of axillary and pubic hair, growth of penis and the testicles also take place during the adolescent period in the boys. Psychosocial changes. As this period is a transition to adulthood, they try to develop self identity. When they were as a child, they were trying to have somebody as a role model, and they will try to imitate somebody, maybe their mother or their father or whomever the person they like. They will try to imitate that person. But now, in this period, during this transition period to adulthood, they will try to develop their self identity, who they are, what is their personality. Such things they try to develop during this period. And the desire to be accepted in the peer group. So the peer group will have a great influence in all their activities. Peer group are their friends. So the desire to be accepted in the peer group changes their food habits, the type of dressing, and also the group conduct. So when we find a group of 4 boys or 5 boys, the way they behave, their likes, their dislikes, and how they interact, all these will be in a unique way. So each group will have a different way of talking, interacting, or reacting to things, discussing about issues. All these will differ from one group to the other group, and the adolescent child will try to be part of the peer group, and the group will have a lot of influence on all their activities, on their day-to-day activities. This in turn will bring psychological, emotional, and social stress. So they want to be accepted by their peers, so they will try to imitate them, but like how they dress or how they eat, and there may be quarrel, enmity in the group, and this can bring about psychological problems, and they can also bring about emotional problems. So the emotional problems are more during this period because they start thinking about various things, the good and the bad, right? So they start thinking somebody likes them, somebody don't like them. So all these will bring about emotional changes and also social stress. So the way they interact with the society, how the society accepts them, how the society handles them, right? When you travel in a bus, when you're moving in a public, right, we know what are all the problems that we face, particularly the girl children face. So these things can cause emotional problems in the children, and it can also causes social stress to the children. At this point, we should know the recommended dietary allowance of the adolescent children. Recommended dietary allowance, the entire table we have studied earlier. And here, while we study about the nutritional requirement for the adolescent children, we should know the RDA for the adolescent children, right?